It was a cold Tuesday night, the kind of night when the city seemed to breathe slower, quieter, as if even its chaos was resting. The headquarters of a massive multinational corporation stood tall against the skyline, its glass walls gleaming faintly under the dim streetlights. Inside, most of the offices were empty, computers turned off, desks abandoned, chairs neatly tucked in. But the building wasn't completely silent. The faint hum of electricity coursed through wires, the distant throb of the generator in the basement echoed every now and then, and the squeak of shoes against polished floors revealed that someone was still awake, still moving, still working when the world had gone to sleep. That someone was a young security guard named Amir. Amir wasn't like the other guards. He was younger than most, barely in his early 20s, with tired eyes but an unshakable spark of determination that refused to die. While his colleagues often passed the night scrolling through their phones or chatting to kill time, Amir used his long shifts differently. When the clock struck past midnight and the silence swallowed the building, Amir would pull out an old, worn-out notebook and a couple of thick textbooks from his small backpack. He would find a quiet corner, usually near the emergency stairwell or under the dim light near the basement hall, and he would study, sometimes with the help of the dull emergency lights and other times with nothing but a small, cheap flashlight whose batteries often betrayed him at the worst possible times. Tonight was no different. The security monitor screens glowed in the control room, reflecting against Amir's face as he finished his hourly round and sat down in his corner. He adjusted the flashlight between his shoulder and cheek, flipping through pages covered in equations, definitions, and highlighted notes. He was preparing for an exam he could hardly afford to pay for, dreaming of a career far beyond the security uniform that now hung loosely on his thin frame. Amir came from a struggling family in the outskirts of the city. His father had been a factory worker who lost his job when the plant shut down, and his mother stitched clothes for neighbors to make ends meet. Amir had younger siblings who looked up to him, hoping that one day he would break the cycle of poverty that had chained their family for generations. Every rupee he earned from his job went into groceries, rent, and his siblings' school fees. What was left, barely anything, was saved for his own education. He couldn't afford proper coaching centers or expensive university classes, but he had a dream, to become an engineer. His teachers from school had once told him that he had a sharp mind and the kind of persistence that could carry him far, but life had handed him the cruel reality of responsibility too soon. Still, Amir refused to give up. He believed that knowledge was his only way out, the one weapon that poverty could never fully take from him. But tonight, something unusual was happening in the building. Someone else was also roaming the corridors long after the employees had gone. Dressed in a simple jacket, jeans, and a cap pulled low, a man walked quietly through the hallways, taking in every detail, the shine of the floors, the way the reception desk was organized, the smell of the air fresheners, and even the faint scratches on the walls. His name was not known to anyone who passed him, but in truth, he was the CEO of the entire company. His name was Mr. Samir Khalid, a man who had built the corporation from the ground up, turning it into an empire of thousands of employees. But now, he had disguised himself to see what life in his company really looked like from the bottom. He wanted to feel what his workers felt, to experience the environment they lived in, and to see if the culture he believed in was truly alive at the grassroots level. He had read reports, attended endless boardroom meetings, and heard glowing feedback from his executives, but something in him never trusted polished reports or sugar-coated presentations. He wanted the truth, unfiltered and raw, and the only way to get it was to walk the halls as one of them, to become an undercover CEO. He expected to find laziness, boredom, maybe even complaints among the night shift workers. What he didn't expect was the faint beam of a flashlight in the far corner of the basement hall. Curiosity pulled him closer. As he approached silently, he saw the young guard hunched over his books, his eyes narrowed in concentration, lips moving slightly as he tried to memorize a definition. The flashlight flickered, and Amir hit it gently with his palm to keep it alive before diving back into his notes. Samir stopped, his breath catching in surprise. He had seen employees dedicated to their jobs, but this was different. Here was a young man, working long hours in a low-paying, exhausting job, yet spending his precious moments not on rest or entertainment but on chasing knowledge. Something stirred inside the CEO. He remembered his own younger days, the nights he had stayed up studying under streetlights when his house couldn't afford electricity. He remembered the hunger, the hopelessness, and the fight to rise above it all. Watching Amir was like looking into a mirror of his own past, and it shook him. Samir could have simply walked away, but something kept him rooted in place. He wanted to know more. He stepped forward, making a slight sound with his shoes so as not to startle the young man. Amir looked up instantly, eyes wide, quickly trying to hide his books, embarrassed as if he had been caught doing something wrong. I'm sorry, sir, Amir stammered, not recognizing the man before him. I was just revising for an exam. I didn't mean to neglect my duty. Samir smiled gently, shaking his head. Relax. You're not in trouble. What exam are you preparing for? Amir hesitated, unsure if he should share personal details with a stranger. But something about the man's voice was kind, encouraging. Engineering entrance, he whispered. I want to become an engineer one day. Samir's eyes softened. And you study here? At night? During your shift? Amir nodded, lowering his gaze. It's the only time I get. When I go home, my family needs me. My little brother and sister ask for help with their homework, my mother needs me to run errands, and sometimes there isn't even electricity at home. Here at least I can study quietly. His words carried no bitterness, only a quiet determination that struck Samir like lightning. The CEO felt a lump in his throat. He wanted to tell Amir who he was, to reveal the truth right then, but he stopped himself. This wasn't the time. He needed to see more, to understand this young man's heart fully before deciding what to do. Instead, he placed a hand on Amir's shoulder. Keep studying, he said softly. Don't give up. People who fight for their dreams eventually reach them, even if the path is hard. Amir looked at him, surprised by the encouragement from a stranger. For a moment, he almost felt tears sting his eyes, but he quickly blinked them away. He nodded firmly. Thank you, sir. I won't give up. Samir walked away slowly, but his mind was already racing. He had found something, or rather, someone, that might change not only his perspective but perhaps the destiny of this young guard. As he left the building that night, the image of Amir under the faint flashlight burned in his memory. He knew this was just the beginning of something extraordinary. And deep inside, Amir, too, felt something had shifted, though he couldn't explain why. Perhaps fate had just walked past him disguised as a stranger. To everyone watching this story unfold, let this be a reminder: dreams don't die just because life is hard. Sometimes the darkest nights are where the brightest lights shine. And if you believe in chasing your goals no matter how impossible they seem, then hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss the rest of this journey. Because what happens next in Amir's life will leave you inspired in ways you cannot imagine.